students, I thought I would be a talking head today just in case you missed me. I am using the mic so that we have a little bit better quality audio. I know that I'm not a professional YouTuber, so I don't always have the best videos, but I'm glad that you give me the benefit of the doubt. So today we're talking about how to use visuals, and this is important because part of the report is that you are going to be using visuals effectively. So first we need to talk about primary sources. What is a primary source? In general, a primary source is research that you do. It is data that you gather yourself. So if you're a doctor and you are gathering information on a new therapy or a new type of medication, you're doing primary research. Okay? If you are observing something firsthand, that is also primary research. Okay? So, when you are completing your primary research chart, you're going to be taking screenshots of social media posts, and that's going to be a type of primary source because you are gathering that research firsthand. Another example of a primary source would be a picture that you take yourself. Okay? It could also be something like something you write yourself, like a journal entry or something like that. So those are all examples of primary sources. Why should we use primary sources in our reports? Well, the first reason is kind of lame, but because I'm requiring it. Because that's part of what we're doing in the actual report. I am trying to get you to do primary research and then incorporate it into your report. So you have to have it in order to do the assignment properly. The other reason is because it is the evidence. Now, remember that you're not doing anything persuasive in the report. You are simply reporting information. But in the report, you don't just want to have someone take your word for it. You're giving evidence of what you're saying. So you're going to be talking about a company's social media, and you're going to give examples. All right? So we want to use primary sources because it's required and because we want to give good examples of what we are talking about in the actual report. Okay? So how should we use primary sources? The first thing is that you want to use them fairly and accurately, and that's why I'm having you take a look at how to lie with data visualization. In this report, you don't have to worry about that so much. I don't think that you'll be using outside graphs or anything like that. If you make a graph, it's going to be your own graph, and you can decide how you put it together in the best, most effective way. But it's important to think about as you start going into other types of report writing and proposal writing, you're going to be making graphs, and you want to represent the data in the most effective way, in the most honest way. So be sure that you take a look at that because that's very important. So you want to use your primary sources fairly and accurately. You don't want to make any stuff up. The other thing you want to do is you want to use them in the most effective way. So what I would suggest and what I am looking for when I am grading is this 3-step process. First, you are going to introduce the source. Then you are going to put the visual, put the source, the primary research, into the report. And then you're going to explain it. Okay? I want you to think of it as like a sandwich. I always have trouble spelling the word sandwich. Is that how you spell it? Sandwich. Okay? So the top part is the introduction, and you have like the meat, the burger of the sandwich. That's going to be the actual visual. And then the bottom bun is going to be you explaining it. Okay, so you want to have all 3 pieces so that it's a nice, great sandwich. What you're basically doing is giving a complete context for the visual. So let me show you what this looks like. In this student example, someone is analyzing Nike's use of Instagram. And so they're going to give examples of different types of posts. So here we have the example, but let's look for the introduction, the picture, and hopefully some sort of explanation. So it says Nike features motivational pictures and quotes on their pages. Like this post, encouraging followers to get out there and run. And then we have the post. So here is the introduction. There's the explanation. And there is the picture. So they kind of put the sandwich out of order, but all the pieces are there, and that's what we're looking for. Let's keep scrolling down here. See, you can see that the visuals support the text. They're not separated, they're integrated into the text. What you don't want to see is a picture hanging off by itself. What you should see is something like this. Text introducing the visual, and then text explaining it. Okay? And that's what this person does in the report over and over again. The visuals are integrated into the text. That's one of the main things that I am trying to get you guys to do in this report. So if you are not doing that 3-step process, you're not going to be able to get the perfect score that you want on this report. You have to use your visuals effectively. You want to integrate the visual into the text so that the visual you want to integrate the visual into the text so that the visual supports and enhances the text, rather than just being like, oh, look at this pretty picture that I found on the internet. We want the text and the visual to work together. I always get so nervous when I'm typing and I know you're watching me. The text and the visuals should work together. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Spend some time looking over the student example to see how they do that. But you can kind of see that the person uses that sandwich method. All right. Now we need to talk about copyright. So I'm going to take you to the Library of Congress's website, and basically it explains what copyright is. So, in a nutshell, if you create something, you are the owner, and you have a right to dictate how the thing you created is used. People can't use it without your permission, they can't sell it, they can't make money off of it without you saying it's okay. All right? You are the person that owns that. It is yours. So if I write a poem, I'm the owner of that. You can't sell my poem. You can't pass that poem off as yours. You can't make it into a poster. It's my poem. You have to ask me for permission. So that's basically what copyright is. Even if there isn't a copyright symbol on something, if it's created by someone, it's copyrighted, and you cannot use it without permission. Period. You can't just go in and find a stock photo of a shoe. I want to find a picture of a shoe to put on my report. I'm going to use this. You can't use that. It isn't your picture. Now, we wanted to go back up to this primary source thing here. If you take a picture of your own shoe and you want to use it in your report, you can do whatever you want. It's your picture. But you can't just go online and pick up these stock photos. Okay? What's interesting is some students will still use stock photos even if it has the watermark over it. The reason there is this watermark on there is because it is copyrighted. You have to pay to use that picture. And even if it's not copyrighted, like this one, it's not yours. You still can't use it. So that's what copyright is. You can't use something without someone's permission. So in this case, you need to pay for the use of it, or in this case, we would need to ask the person for permission. If you can't ask the person for permission, a lot of times you can simply cite the source and say where you got it. That's like what we do in essays. When you use someone else's research, you cite your source in an academic essay. All right. Copyright does matter. Usually people don't come after you, but let's say in a business context you are writing a report. You're writing a report for a big company and you use a picture that doesn't belong to you. You use an image that doesn't belong to you, you don't cite it, and you don't get permission. What if that report gets circulated throughout the company and the owner of that picture finds out? You could get sued. Don't believe me? Well, I used to own a business, and the person who did our website design used a picture that we didn't own, and we got sued by Getty Images. They pulled a picture off of the internet, and we didn't know. So we actually had to go into litigation, prove that we didn't know that the webmaster had done this, and it was a mess. But it happens. If you use something that doesn't belong to you, you can get in trouble. A lot of times if you use something on a blog and you pull a picture off the internet that isn't yours and you use it on your personal blog, you'll notice that that link gets broken and you can't see that picture in your blog post. That's because you didn't own it. And the owner of the picture doesn't want you using it, so they broke that link and you aren't able to use the picture. So it does matter, especially if you're writing in the business world. You don't want your company to get sued. So you want to play it safe, only use pictures that you own, or only use pictures that you have permission to use. All right, so let's continue here. I'm going to get to my main point in a second. Just stay with me. So let's say Nike takes a picture and posts it on Instagram. Nike is the owner of that photo. That's why I bolded it. Nike is the owner of that photo. Let's say you take a screenshot of that post. Well, you own the screenshot, but Nike still owns that photo. You can't go around posting that post as if you made it up yourself. Nike owns that Instagram post. Which brings up an interesting point about regrams. Why are regrams okay? Because regrams give credit to the original poster. Okay? So basically, as long as you're giving credit where credit is due, you're going to be okay. Which brings students to this question here. Do I have to cite my visuals in my report? I'm going to say yes, because I want you to practice. Now, you aren't going to get in trouble if you don't perfectly cite your visuals, because in education, there's something called fair use. And you can read more about it on this Library of Congress website. But fair use basically talks about how if you are not making money off of it, if it's under education, you can use things without necessarily having to get permission. Okay? Things like that. Or if I want to sing a song in the privacy of my own home, I don't necessarily need to go out and get permission from the composer to sing in my own home. Now, if I'm having a concert and I sell tickets and a bunch of people come and I've made money off of that, I do need to get permission to sing a song at my concert. So I hope you're seeing the difference. Now, in the business world, people will often give credit to the original owner of the content, but you're not going to really see a works cited page. In the business world, you'll mostly see people just giving credit in the actual body of the text, which is what our example did here. Okay. Nike posted this. You can see when. It gives all the information. They're not trying to pass this off as their own work. They're giving credit to the person who posted this originally, which is Nike. Okay? Now, if someone cropped this out and didn't say where they got it, and they were like, look at this great picture I took of, Gabby Douglas, that is stealing and would be a copyright violation. But the way that this person is using visuals for educational purposes, they've done enough citation in this report. So really use the student sample to help guide you into how much you need to cite your images. You really just have to make sure it's clear to the reader that they know where you got it. Okay? That's really all you need to do. Especially in the business world, you may have an appendix sometimes, but quite often you will just see people giving credit where credit is due. So, I know that's a lot to remember. You can always go back and watch this video if you need some extra help. Look very carefully at the student sample, which can help you understand how to integrate your visuals and how to introduce them and explain them, giving context for your visuals. So, phew, let's go back and recap here. Primary sources are things that you find out for yourself. You want to use primary sources in your report because it's required and it gives evidence and demonstrates examples of what you're talking about. You want to use your primary sources fairly and accurately. If you're representing that information in a graph, you want to make the graph correctly. And you want to introduce and explain your visuals. While you're introducing and explaining your visuals, you want to give credit to whomever posted it and wherever you found the image. And if you do all of those things, then you will be using your images effectively.